What do jellyfish venom, your eye color, and bird feathers have in common? Well, among other things, they all exist thanks to proteins, which facilitate virtually all the processes associated with life. Before we examine how proteins function, we need to understand protein structure. The simplest unit of a protein is an amino acid. There are 20 different types of amino acid, each with a unique R group. It's helpful to think of a single amino acid as a bead. The different types of beads shown here represent the different kinds of amino acids. The cells of organisms connect individual amino acids to form a chain known as a polypeptide. Think of this as an ugly statement necklace. Next, intermolecular forces cause the polypeptide to twist and fold into its secondary and tertiary structures. Though this may look like a sad lump of disappointment, it's actually a completed protein. In fact, each of those seemingly random folds and bends were really very specific interactions intended to create a certain shape. This shape is where a protein derives its ability to function. Much like how a key must have a certain shape to fit into a lock, a protein must have a very specific shape in order to carry out its task. For example, membrane proteins must allow things to move in and out of a cell. Of course, this being the real world, things don't always work out. Unfortunately, proteins are only able to work in very specific conditions. Much like my inability to function in the absence of food or emotional support, proteins are only able to function in very specific pH and temperature ranges. In the case of human proteins, this is a pH of 7.4 and a temperature of 37 degrees Celsius. If we were to deviate from these conditions by, say, increasing the temperature to 41 degrees Celsius, these proteins would denature or unfold as the forces holding them together were disrupted. Basically, if this key represents a functioning protein, think of denaturation as a hammer. Once the protein structure has been disrupted, the protein is no longer able to work. Extensive protein denaturation has been shown to have some pretty severe repercussions. In fact, the denaturation of key proteins is considered to be a major cause of cell death. Additionally, denatured proteins occasionally clump together, like demented dust bunnies, in a phenomenon known as protein aggregation. These aggregates of denatured proteins are actually toxic to living cells, but more on this in a minute. Surprisingly, global warming may have some major implications on protein function. And because global warming is real, we need to consider how it might affect human health. Some scientists have predicted that heat extremes brought about by global warming may increase the risk of persistent hyperthermia, or body overheating, which has been shown to cause aggregates of denatured proteins to form in brain cells. These aggregates of denatured proteins actually have the ability to kill neurons, which is what occurs in the brains of people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, which has scientists worry that continued global warming may increase the risk of neurodegenerative disorders. So basically, we're all gonna die.